come in the middle and actually be on the same page with things. It'd be
Mm,
different if you were if you were not a fan of certain things. Like it'd be different if you were complete opposite to where none of these things were any part of your wheelhouse or your fancy.
right, right,
Like
right. It was a
me.
complete novice, right?
Yeah, if you were well, not even novice, if you were just completely like, let's say for instance, you never picked up a comic book in your life, or you never
Mm,
watched a superhero movie at all because it just didn't draw you,
yeah.
any of that stuff. Like if you were done in any of that, and we threw you into the bullpen because you were friends, and you're like, I want to talk about stuff with you guys, then it'd be more like you're learning, yeah, a whole bunch of it, but then you being genuine about it might not be as rich. Does that make
Mm,
sense?
I
Because
got
you're
you. I
kind of
got you.
disconnected from it a little bit, but you're still
Yeah,
a fan,
yeah,
and it's okay to not like things, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. No, no, it's not. Um, no, you suck. All of you suck. You suck. No, I just watched the stupid Dawn of the Dead trailer. The
How you watch it
Jason
without sound,
the
motherfucker?
Jason of the Dead. What is it called again? Army of the Dead. That's right in front of my face. I
Army
think
of
that's
the Dead.
hilarious.
Jason of the Dead. Sorry.
And see,
Yeah, I just watched it. That shit was crazy. I mean, it's
Listen to it, motherfucker.
yeah, you're not connected
Oh,
to my
oh,
sound. I
gotcha,
mean,
gotcha, gotcha. Be like this
um,
motherfucker watch it on mute. I'm gonna strangle his ass.
yeah, no, they give you a little bit more. I mean, you already knew what the motivation was of it. So, but yeah, no, that shit looks live. But South Freaks and Geeks, it's your boy Rick Dunn here, and I am here with some of my nerd friends and sweaties. We're gonna get deep into this Army of the Dead. Not only just the trailer so much, but more so the genre of the zombie movie. Whether or not Zack Snyder is breathing new life into the genre, the zombie genre. That's a mouthful. Or is this just this is it? The way I like to say, as far as I'm concerned, the genre I think has been stale and dead a long time ago. No pun intended. So, we're gonna talk about it a little bit, get into it, and give our likes and dislikes and things that we think. And feel free to join the comments, get down and dirty down below, and say something logical, and we'll talk back to you. But yeah, first and foremost, let's just get into the trailer. Like, I've been watching the trailers up until the last trailer. I've tried not to watch the last trailer recently because I planned on doing a reaction video to it, but just hadn't had the time. But So I watched all the other trailers, but even without watching the trailers, I don't know. Say what you will. I just knew that Zack Snyder was going to do something dope with the movie. So I've always kind of been on board with him doing this flick. But I'll ask you guys what you think of the trailer first and foremost, and then we'll go from there. So let's shoot it over to Graven to see what you think about the trailer. Graven, if none of you already know this, just by his name alone, is definitely a horror flick guy. Um, you know, Great. That's what he got his name under the pale moonlight
I did.
of the
I did.
darkness. Uh,
Craven Idols,
yeah.
all
So
that good stuff,
so
the
yeah.
horrors.
So he's more of a horror aficionado in this group. So we'll shoot it over to Graven real quick and get his 2 cents on what he thought about the trailer.
Yes, yes, I love horror movies. My wife loves them even more than me.
Yes.
So, well,
She
yes, I
does
do
love
love
them. She does love them more than you. Yes.
absolutely more than me. Period. Than me. Period. Um, she was born, and it's funny enough. My wife was born due to her mom watching The Exorcist in the theater. She went into labor watching Exorcist, and Monica was born a few hours later.
Yeah, of
So
course.
that's an interesting little tidbit of
Yeah.
information there.
Yeah. Something like that.
So yeah, so she's called the Exorcist baby for a reason.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. You, you definitely you picked a good one.
I did. I
Yeah.
did.
I hope you-
So yeah,
That's the story.
Holy water. Lots of holy water.
lots of holy water. Her holy water broke
Yep.
to ever.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right.
So let's see here. Horror movies, zombies. Let's see here. Army of the Dead, right? Army of the
Yeah.
Dead.
What'd you think about the trailer?
What do I think about the trailer? I enjoyed what I'm seeing so far. It's got I don't know. Does it have an interesting take on it? It seems like it's a pretty direct, straightforward take with it being that they're out to. I don't know. It kind of frameworks it to be kind of like some convicts, as well as some seedy people, as well as some straight arrow shooters that's trying to capitalize off of a money heist. Right? Looks like it's a heist film
Yeah,
wrapped
Zombie
up in a
heist.
zombie
Yeah.
film.
the ex-military.
Yeah, ex-military. So you got something like that heist feel with zombies and smart zombies from what we're seeing here. Intelligent zombies.
Yeah, I am.
And for the first time in a while. I mean, there's been movies with zombie animals, but I think this is the first time that they've put a spotlight on it, which I think is actually kind of awesome. To be quite honest with you, if you're going to dig deep into what's left of the zombie genre, which is not much, because let me tell you, it's been done to death. Is adding some animals that are aggressive in the film, and the fact that they're intelligent zombies. There have been some films that have had a few knocks to that, but to just put it out there blatantly that these are intelligent zombies that are going to come out there and take care of things, I think that's pretty interesting. Love the cast. The cast looks rich. I'm excited to kind of see Batista and see how he pulls it off with his character. I loved him in Blade Runner 2049. I thought he didn't get enough love in that film, but it's still a great film. So I wanted to see more. So hopefully with this shot, he actually didn't do. He turned down Suicide Squad opportunity with James Gunn to do this film. So let's see how it goes with that, I would say. But all in all, it looks kind of good. I'm sure there's some things I could dislike from it too, just based on being in the horror realm of things. But right now, so far, it looks like a popcorn zombie movie, I would say.
Okay, all right. What do you think, Sean? Based off the trailer, what do you feel about the trailer so far?
Well, full disclosure, I'm pretty new compared to you guys. I'm pretty new to zombie genre. I picked up the zombie genre watching, from The Walking Dead in 2016, and I think they were like maybe 5-6 seasons in by that point. You could correct me, but I'm pretty much a novice, and I do have to say I stayed away from the zombie genre because I had a certain perspective on it, a certain, I thought it was just sort of like a one-note thing, and not to mention, the gore. And I've never been a fan of gore. I've never been a true fan of the horror genre, even though I have seen some really good horror movies over the years. If, by accident or just the intrigue of the popularity of that movie in that moment, I said, well, let me check this out. Let me see what everybody's talking about. I remember the hype for The Walking Dead, and it was, it was sort of like Game of Thrones. Everybody was in a frenzy over it for a couple of seasons. And I stayed away from it largely. But somewhere along the line in 2016, I started watching it, and I thought it was an amazing first 4 seasons. And Graven, I know you're definitely in home court advantage on this because, your knowledge of horror is fantastic. I think this is going to be an interesting discussion because Rick is sort of really, he's done with the whole genre as it were. And I think he has some really valid criticisms about that. Yeah. I actually enjoy when it's done well. I don't think, and I'll defend the zombie genre a little bit. I don't think that we've seen enough good stories. I have watched a handful, and I think that this is going to be one of them. I think Zack Snyder always sort of brings a new element to his movies. Now, the zombie genre poses an extra special challenge. Why? Because it seems like there's only so much you can do, right? A lot of these movies are, you have a team of people or a group of people, and the story is surrounded by them, and they're pretty much surrounded, okay? If you just watch the trailer, just, casually or whatever, you get that sense. However, you just mentioned it. This is I tried to look this up to see if there was anything else, and there may be, but if you look up zombie heist movie, that within itself has a different aspect to it.
Yes.
I'm a little worried that, I saw Dawn of the Dead before this podcast. I wanted to make sure that I saw that. So I'm a little worried that some of those elements are going to reappear in this movie, even though I think Dawn of the Dead 2004, his first zombie movie, was very well done. Okay. Yeah. But I don't want to see the same thing. I want to see a different story. This seems like it has elements of that. The second very huge element is the fact that the zombies are so organized, right? It seems like they have a leadership, a hierarchy going on. You have some alpha zombies versus some, lesser zombies or whatever, right? So, but again, that's been done before. In I Am Legend, right? So I Am Legend, you had a series of zombies that were sort of organized. And remember, they sort of even sprung a trap for Will Smith at one point in the movie. So I'm a little concerned. but from what I've seen, the trailer looks amazing to me. The visuals are outstanding. I love the what is it? Not Johnny Cash. It's
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers. I love
Gambler.
the Kenny Rogers sound of it. I hope that he brings something different. And of course, he has the tiger in there. It's Vegas. Of course, you have to put a tiger in there. It's just like, it's sort of like a nod to the other Vegas movie, The Hangover, right? With Mike Tyson and the tiger and everything.
Yeah.
So, right.
Throwing a little fun Mars Attacks there field.
I could have sworn too. I saw Ken Jeong in there with the Elvis on. I could have sworn that he was a zombie in there. I wasn't sure if that was him.
It looks like it was a chick in an Elvis suit. It was a female in an Elvis suit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure, because just at a quick glance, I was like, is that him? Are they giving a nod to The Hangover, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely aspects of certain other things in potentially in the movie. I don't think that's where the movie's gonna shine. It's not so much about I think the characters are going to be what's going to be some of the things that you're going to be drawn into. This is like the way Zack Snyder does what he does. The characters, you're going to like the characters. You're going to be drawn into the characters. As they get picked off, because that's just the way this works. You're not going to like it. It's one of those things you're going to feel for the characters. You'll have reason to feel for the characters. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be his presentation. It's not so much that he's recreating the wheel, because no one can recreate the wheel at this point. The genre's been overdone. There's no recreating the wheel at this point. You know what I'm saying? So it's not so much about beating up your head to say, how can I do something original? As far as the story is concerned, I think more for him it's, how am I going to package it the way I would want to do it? You know what I'm saying? And as an artist, it's just him putting his flair on this genre right now versus what it was. Even though what he did originally, in 2004 was more of a remake. You know what I'm saying? So
it was a remake.
It wasn't really him doing what he really wanted to do as much as it was about him paying homage to the original movies. So this is him, no holds barred, going, cool, I'm gonna fucking do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And this is me painting my brush of a zombie movie. And I think that's what it's all going to be. It's going to be more about the look, the feel, and the way everything is moved around in the movie. As far as the recipe of the movie, the recipe is probably going to be very similar to a lot of other zombie movies you've seen, especially if you've seen enough. If you've seen enough zombie movies, I guarantee you, you can pick out, oh, that was this movie. Oh, they did that in this movie. Oh, they did that in this movie. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't think it's definitely going to be about recreating the wheel in this one. I think it's just going to be him putting his feel on this one, and that's what's going to be wild for you. It's going to be like, yo, that was so wild the way he did that, or visually that was amazing. Like, I think that's what's really going to be what's going to bring the difference to this genre as far as what I think.
But that's part of my question, though, right? Why do this again? Yes, the first one was a remake, but why 17 years later does he feel the need to do this, right? And I would like to talk to him to find that out, because there are two things. Either he was doing a remake, he paid homage to the first one, Dawn of the Dead, and now he's just giving us pretty much a fun, all guns out movie kind of thing.
Right.
But I think that he has something up his sleeve. I think there are going to be some foundational elements in there with all zombie movies, but I just have a feeling there's going to be something unique and specific that he's going to put his name on in it.
I can tell you, I can.
At least I hope.
I just from a third person's perspective, my guess would be that when he did the first movie, Zack Snyder wasn't Zack Snyder. There was no Zack Snyder. When Zack Snyder did Dawn of the Dead, no one knew who the fuck Zack Snyder was. Zack Snyder was still making a name for himself.
Yeah.
Now Zack Snyder is Zack Snyder. So now Zack Snyder gets to choose what he does versus being told what to do. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So
Okay.
when he did Dawn of the Dead, it's like, hey, we need a cool director. He had done some movies. Obviously, he has a style that these people liked when they asked him to do the movie. But
Hmm.
now he's Zack Snyder. He gets to make choices now. He gets to decide how he wants things to
Hmm.
look versus how how being told. I'm sure, Graven, you understand what I'm saying. It's like you get to a point, now I think he's at that point now. He's like a Timberland. He's like a Dr. Dre. I'm
Yeah.
saying he's got a name for himself now. He's not just some dude doing movies anymore. And
Yeah.
I think that's probably what it was that he gets to do what he wants now.
Well, it's about you got to do a few to get a few.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You got to do a few films to get a few films. You got. I think that's what happens in Hollywood a lot that people don't talk about. There's a lot of production studios that want certain actors and actresses as well as certain directors to be in certain films and certain types of films. And also directors have their own choice of what they would like to do. But in order to get to that gold pot, so to speak, of what they want to do, they have to take a few hits. So, hey, do this movie over here in order for you to get the opportunity to work on what you want to work on over here. So there may be some of that happening, and I think I agree with you definitely. That I think that's what's happening here. He's seasoned to a degree that he can pretty much get away doing what he wants to do. But I think there's some more stuff here too that I'm not sure anyone's really looked at. First and foremost, I want to go to aesthetic with this film. Right now, this aesthetic feels like it's harkening back and paying homage to those gamers out there. This is a Division, Call of Duty, Dying Light, Dead by Daylight,
Mm.
Days Gone
It's a good
type of
observation. Yeah.
Mm.
film, and you're seeing that with the palette of this. This is a SEAL Team 6 going in, and instead of having a terrorist group they're having to deal with, they're dealing with zombies. And
Mm.
some of the games have done this so far. Call of Duty for sure, I believe, has a zombie extension that's in one of their recent
Oh,
game
they always do, yeah.
titles.
Mm.
They
Yeah.
always do. So this is going to appeal to those fans that want to see that in more real time. I think that was a smart move. If there's something there that for him meaning to do it that way, I think there's something there too.
Mm.
Um, I'm sure you guys are probably seeing that as well.
Oh, I was going to talk about
I,
that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
and then on top of it too, getting back to what Sean was saying about like why is he doing this? What's his motivation? What's the reason to come back after all these years and do it? While I also agree with you, Rick, about he's got a chance to kind of play in his own playground, so to speak. Now he's made a name for himself. I wonder how much this might have been a cleansing opportunity for him emotionally and mentally. He's been sitting in DC for so many years. He's been playing in that wheelhouse. He's been dealing with all the ups and downs with that, as well as the tragedy, unfortunately, that was bestowed upon him with his daughter passing. I feel like that some directors, and I've seen this just from my own experience,
Hmm.
directors have to go through a cleansing process where they do something for so long that they need to step outside their wheelhouse or go back to something that they love or they're comfortable with
Mm.
in order to
Mm.
kind of get themselves emotionally reset, so to speak. And maybe this is a film that's kind of letting him get some of his aggression out.
Mm.
Maybe there's no need for it from the viewer point of view. They're like, oh, not another one. I don't want to see another zombie movie. I
Hmm.
don't think it's
Hmm.
needed. It's been done. But maybe it's not for those people. Maybe this is for him. Maybe
Right.
he needed this to kind of get some aggression out, get some closure out, get some therapy handled, and he's
Mm.
doing that through this story. And I don't know, I could be reaching there, but I do think about that sometimes with a film like this, based on what you
So,
guys are saying.
so you're saying it's like more of a pet project that he probably had in his back pocket. That when I graduate from DC, maybe I can actually work on this. I could definitely see that, man. I could
Possibly,
definitely see that. I,
yeah.
I like your point about the whole Call of Duty aspect of it too, because in a lot of movies in this genre, the humans are actually the bad guys, right? So you start off with a couple of select characters and you walk with them on that journey, and they meet some other people or other actors who might be a lot more self-interested, or
Right.
their survival, fight or flight is a lot more um, venomous,
Yeah.
to put it bluntly, right? Like, so you don't know what's the hidden agenda behind these human actors. It's almost like the zombies themselves are background in a lot of these, right? Which is a question again. I've been looking forward to this podcast because I know how Rick feels about this genre, but I also would like to get some of your own insight, Graven, which
Yeah.
is how do you feel? What's your opinion on the more able and more agile, like super super ability zombies versus, let's say, the Walking Dead or the Shaun of the Dead zombies, which are just pretty much, they're so slow,
Hmm.
and it's like they're sort of,
The George
I don't know
Romero zombies. Yeah.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know
the
how
George
seriously
Romero
you can
zombie.
take them. Yeah, how seriously can you take the slower zombies or whatever, unless they grab you and you're not seeing them coming or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Um, how do you feel about that? Because Rick and I were talking about
Hmm.
28 Days Later and Dawn of the Dead 2004.
Of course.
They actually introduced this new zombie to
It's
the mix, right?
intelligent type zombie. It's someone
Right.
that's more cognitive. Might not be as intelligent as the ones we're going to see on this film, but close to that type of higher level of
But just
function.
faster. Like
Yeah. Oh
they
yeah.
run you
Fast, more
down
aggressive.
instead of yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, more
For sure.
more so the physicality is what I was saying.
Right. 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 I think with this, I think we have to simplify it a little bit before we get to the deep understanding of that in your question. Um, let's be honest. Zombies are easy. It's an easy genre. There, you don't have to work for it as far as creating that. And when I'm talking about that, I'm not talking about putting a film together. I'm not talking about the prosthetics. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the idea. Zombies were created by, the whole zombie idea was created or has been pointed by many but to be created by George Romero. Like that, he was the god, the godfather of zombies, and bringing that to the forefront a little bit.
Night of the Living
There's
Dead,
some,
right?
yeah, not a living dead. There's some more arguments out there that there was other people, as we know, because just because some name gets the face of all the glory of,
Well,
hey, you're the one who did it, there's other people that have done that. And even previous years before him, in older films, you've
Mm,
had ghouls and you've had other types of creatures. So you can't just say he's the one, but he's the one that had the spotlight on, I would believe, in that saying. Um, but when I'm talking about the easy choice, I'm saying that it's just the alter ego of the human id. It's what happens when everything's removed from you and you're just an aggressive monster. That's just all you are. So being able to do something, you can make anybody in a story aggressive. You can make anything a monster. It's very simple. It's very basic. You know what I mean? There's no
hmm.
rich, involved, intellectual point of narrative with a zombie, if that makes sense, with this. So a lot of people, when I was fortunate enough to work in the film festival arena, and I was watching a lot of films, and I was getting a lot of submissions that were zombie based, and different types of ideas with zombies. After a while it all runs together, where I'm watching thousands and thousands and thousands, and I'm literally saying this, thousands of horror movies, which I was very fortunate to be part of, but it let me see a lot of what was the scope of the landscape with people as far as what horror is nowadays and how it's evolved through the years and what people like to gravitate to.
Right.
We had more zombie films than anything. And I
Wow.
firmly believe the reason why is not just because of the fandom and the fad that started years and years before through Walking Dead. And I'm talking, when I say before Walking Dead helped put a spotlight on it again. It'd been
Hmm.
around for many years, Italian horror movies like Zombie and things like that. It's been around. But Walking Dead's comic books, eventually ignited all of that. And so now everybody was like, oh, we got to make movies because that's the hot commodity. We got to just keep doing it. It's all about the zombies. But you put a little bit of makeup, and I'm not talking about the professionals that do great jobs with it, but you can get anybody, get a friend, somebody who does some makeup, some extra prosthetics you can buy from Halloween stores, through the year, and you can make a zombie. You know what I mean? You can make a
Right. Right.
zombie and you can film a movie. So when I say all that, I'm saying it seems like it can be easily accessible to people to create this type of thing.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be a lot of special effects involved to make it feel like a zombie or even that old kind of cheesy 80s horror movie. So people are
Right.
drawn to it. So that's why I feel like it's such an easy thing, and that's why we're seeing so much of it. I could be completely wrong. I'm not an expert, but that's what I'm feeling there with
That's
this.
your observation.
Yeah, it's just an observation.
Hmm.
To circle back to the question about as far as seeing the intelligent zombie, if I'm correct, right? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
why are we seeing more of that? Why
The more
why
sophisticated
more
zombie. Yeah.
sophisticated zombie is because you have to evolve. You have to evolve these characters. Everything's been done. So the next evolution is going to be, let's just add intelligence to it. Let's just make
Hmm.
this to where it's a little more at stake. If you have a like this movie you're dealing with here, you have a team of people going in. They like Rick says, you're going to build off the characters. You're going to love the characters. You have to love the characters. The zombies always need to be the background. The monsters always need to be the background unless your story is focusing on a particular plight of that creature and what's happening to them and how you can meet in the middle with those. But if you don't build your character framework around it strong enough and the backdrop doesn't marry itself properly, you're going to lose the cohesion. There's no stakes. And you need stakes. And let's be honest, if there was real zombie apocalypse, no one truly knows how they're going to handle everything. And no one's really going to know how they're going to write the situation because you add in human dynamic of instinct and natural choice and how they're going to react to the immediate issue, you know. So when you're watching something, you know, you're like, how can we take zombies seriously if they're just walking zombies? You know, it's kind of mediocre, you know. It's like they're just going to walk to you. We can run away. Well, that's the crazy thing about us humans. That's the crazy thing about our social class and the way we do things. We're so into our phones nowadays. We're so into different things that if we were overrun with just walking zombies, there'd still be people out there that would massively get caught by them.
Of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I mean, the thing about the walking zombie is walking into a cell of them. Not paying attention, and you walk into a cell, and then you're surrounded now. You're screwed.
Right.
You know,
so and the fear of just not being able to kill them quick enough, like not being strong enough. And you've got other people that are not strong enough or trained to do that type of thing. The average kid couldn't do that. So that invoked a certain type of fear as we grew up. Watching these things like, I can't do this. What happens? I'm screwed, you know? We can't kill them. You know, it's that's that with that. But I think it breeds more depth if you can find a way to make the zombies, and I don't say realistic in the normal layman's term, but realistic in the way you play it out. Make them something interested where it forces your characters to have to go above and beyond their normal constraints to fix their problem. And the only way you can do that is if you have an intelligent force of nature that is coming after you, that you have no obvious way out of it. You know what I mean? And I think that's why it's important. I think it's good. I think we need more of it. But you're right. To harken back to what you were saying earlier, like we've seen so much of it that we're kind of just tired and burnt out of it. I am too. I want good horror movies. I want good zombie movies. I want the writer, the director, the characters to have some strength, will, and intellect when they're writing their stories. And I think we need that more. Yeah. Everything gets lost in the minutia. You know what I mean?
We need creators to be more creative.
Absolutely.
And
that's what I'm saying.
That means we need them to have more balls. You know, it takes more of a ball sack to go, I'm not going to do a zombie movie. Right now, the easiest product in the world that you can make is a zombie movie.
Yeah.
If you're a producer and you got money on the table and you go, what can we make? Make a zombie movie. 9 out of 10 times, you're going to make something that's going to sell a decent amount of money. You know what I'm saying?
You're going to get a decent amount of people coming to watch those movies. Absolutely.
It's an easy roll. Like, if you got to roll the dice on anything, make a zombie movie. You know, so that's kind of where it's at now. So we need more people to go, nah, I want to do something. I want to try my hand at something. I want to create a new monster. Let's create a new monster. We haven't done that in God knows how long. You know what I'm saying?
Don't get me started. Don't get me started, man. Like, so, I mean, how did we grow up? How did we grow up in the 80s where they took chances with monsters, and we have some of the major iconic villainy that's in horror movies that we have back then, but we don't have now? Everything just blends together. There's no Freddy Kruegers.
Yeah,
there's no Jasons. There's no Pinheads. Yeah. There's there's feeble attempts, if you will. There's a few out there.
We're still feeding off of the 80s. I mean, there's no Aliens. Aliens was the 80s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, they keep remaking Aliens and Predator.
But that's the thing. We're still feeding off of it. We're still. I mean, to me, I think they created aliens. Can you That's something that I don't think enough people take time to think about. They created that. Like, that happened. You know what I'm saying? Yep. When was the last time somebody created something like that? You know, it just doesn't happen anymore, and that's crazy to think.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, Freddy Krueger. You know, to me, Freddy Krueger is an amazing creation as well. You know what I'm saying? But he, you know, at the same time, you had your Freddy Krueger, your Michael Myers, your Jasons. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But to me, the alien thing does stand out on its own. Like, there's nothing. Like the alien
horror
thing.
Sci-fi.
You know, like that's something that's so different, and we just don't do that anymore. But that I mean, the thing with the zombie thing is, I mean, where it starts to lose, it starts to get ridiculous. Is kind of the last time I tuned into Walking Dead, where it was like they had the zombies were talking and shit now. Like they're fucking cognizant zombies and shit. Like you know what I'm saying? I saw a scene where Daryl is fighting this fucking hillbilly biker zombie and shit, and he who was talking, and I'm like, word. So now they having conversations and shit now too. You know what I'm saying? Like the having intellect is one thing, but then when you push it too far, and now you got walking, talking, conversating zombies and shit.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that was probably you probably tuned into one of the episodes where they were dealing with the Whispers, and the Whispers is actually a group of humans that were would wrap themselves up in zombie remains and in different things and look like zombies in order for them to blend in, and they would use the zombies as their armies. And so it was actually kind of very smart storyline in The Walking Dead itself in the comic.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't think this was it. This guy was definitely a zombie. You know, because at the end, like,
so this is something new that the creators thought of to introduce.
Yeah, like Daryl threw him down a elevator shaft at the end of the fight, and he flew down this elevator shaft, and was still alive, obviously, but now he's stuck in an elevator shaft. So he's definitely not a regular human. Like, he was definitely a zombie. Yeah.
Yeah, but, I haven't. I that's probably take away my horror card here, but I haven't watched most of the Walking Dead stuff. I tuned out after season 2.
Doesn't take away your horror card.
My wife continued to watch it. I read the books.
Yeah.
To some degree, I loved them because they were strong for what they were.
Yeah.
But they tried to change some of the storyline in the show so that people could get interested in something fresh, even if you read the book. So but after the second season, maybe into the first couple episodes of the third season, I was kind of like, I'm out. I can't do this. And
I think Rick was telling me earlier that after season 4, that's when they started to really go off script and sort of come up with new content and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the comic books weren't that long. The comic genre didn't last that long, and when they ran out of content from the comic books, and they just started doing their own thing. But like you said, they started early, like in the second and third seasons, adding stuff. But then by the fifth season, they were just kind of we're just kind of off to the races because they didn't have any more canon. As far as I'm concerned, they didn't have any more canon to pull from, and that's just where it just went haywire. Or as far as I'm concerned, it just wasn't worth it.
When you were talking earlier, Graven, you kind of as far as like if this really happened, what people's reaction would be. So I'm going to attempt to defend the genre a little bit because I think I was telling Rick earlier that I didn't realize how many, like it is completely a saturated thing with the zombie movies. But a lot of these zombie movies are like C-level, D-level movies at best, right?
Absolutely.
They're like a handful or maybe top 10, whatever, really iconic zombie movies. And I think when it's done really well, it does center around the people and their stories, like you said, right? And I think that's one of the reasons this genre doesn't get taken seriously as far as awards and everything like that is for that reason, because probably 9 out of 10 zombie films are going to be just your formulaic whatever, right? But as far as the ones you remember, like I'll name a few. I Am Legend, right? It had a really iconic, star, a really good story to it. I wasn't too crazy about the design of the zombies or whatever, but technology. Train to Busan. Train to Busan was an excellent, extraordinary movie, right?
Very much.
World War Z with Brad Pitt. Okay, I enjoyed that one. I thought it had a really good story. I watched a movie this weekend. It has 2 titles. It's called Alone, and the other title was Pandemic. I think because it was switched to something else. But it was the English version of a Korean movie called #Alive. And I think #Alive came out a month before in September of last year versus October with the Alone movie. But again, a really interesting story about a guy who wakes up in his condo alone, and basically the pandemic, is there. This zombie world, right? And how does he survive? What does he do? I think when it's done well, it's intriguing.
Yeah.
I respect what you guys are saying, though, because it seems like everything has been done. They keep, as far as the zombie design and what the zombies can do, It's either you're gonna have a slower type of zombie or you're gonna have a faster type. But now they're introducing like a more sophisticated zombie. I
Mhm.
get all that, but part of the intrigue to this, part of the reason why when Rick mentioned that you could still get an audience, is
Mhm.
because these movies, to a certain extent, they ask bigger questions.
Yeah.
Okay, if this were to happen, what would I do?
Mhm.
Okay, what would I do in that situation? How would people truly act?
Yeah.
Would it be goodwill towards, your fellow man or whatever? Maybe
Mhm.
not. The people that are armed right now, you have open carry states, and you have states that are more strict with gun laws and stuff like that. How do those people fare? You
Mhm.
have people that have set up bunkers already, anticipating,
Yeah.
this type of thing. You
Preppers.
know, exactly. Um, you have the city element versus the rural element, right?
Mhm.
Like, would you be safer in an urban environment with a higher population density of people, or
Right.
would you be okay in a rural environment where there's more land, there's less people, but what about the resources, right?
Right.
One of the things that was so fascinating about the Dawn of the Dead, the original and the 2004,
Yeah.
was that they were in a shopping mall.
Right.
So you're surrounded by all these, everything you needed and wanted,
Right.
right? Unfortunately, the zombies broke in, but again, it begs the question, where are you right now?
Mhm.
And how would you last through that? What would kick in survival wise, right? And then another question I would like to get both of your takes on this is, um, Rick always talks about survival skills,
Right.
and in this modern day society, we sit in front of a computer most of the time, and he's
Yeah.
like, man, if I when I eventually get the chance, I'm gonna buy acreage of land, and I'm gonna, there's certain things that I'm gonna do,
Right.
just to feel like, you're sort of like a throwback to when we used to do more things with our hands and stuff like that. So the jobs we're doing right now, the professions we're doing, I just read that Negan was a used car salesman,
Mhm.
right? I stopped watching Walking Dead from probably season 6, but the whole Negan character I wasn't too crazy about or whatever, and it kind of took away from the current characters. But he was a used car salesman. Okay, maybe that came in handy with him sort of convincing this whole
Negotiating.
army of people to follow him or whatever, right? So how does that play into what we're doing now? How we view our lives, and this singularity of, oh, I'm an accountant, this is the only thing I know how to do, or I'm a lawyer, I'm good with the law. But what about survival?
Right.
What are we losing in our modern day society that these movies are trying to sort of bring to light?
Well, one thing real quick that I wanted to touch on.
Sure.
One thing that when you think about the zombie genre, I swear that is not an easy thing to say.
Tongue
Yeah, don't
twister.
say that 5 times fast.
um, the one thing that a lot of people are forgetting again is video games.
Yeah.
So you take into account that all the movies you saw, but you
Hmm.
haven't looked at all the video games that were also made.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So now you take what you saw with movies and you add it to all the video games as well.
Mm,
And you
right.
really get an idea of the breadth of how much
The
has been
extent.
created.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of
Right.
video games that have been made that are not movies, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That add to the zombie genre. You know,
Yeah.
Right. True
so
that. True that.
because nowadays video games is a bigger thing than movies. So when you
Yeah.
talk about this younger generation, um, even our generation for that matter, who still play video games, like Dying Light and all these other zombie games, that are all some of the games are better than some of the movies. If
Yeah.
you actually get into the game, some of the games are way better than the movies. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So that's a whole other thing. So when you talk
Yeah.
about when I kind of try and talk about the saturation of the genre, that's
Hmm.
part of the thing you got to take into
I got you.
consideration as well. But
Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw
outside
that
of
one.
outside of that, when you're talking about the zombie movies and what they ask of you and all that, to me, it's not the zombie movie that asks you that question. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that movie, the basis of a zombie movie is a virus movie. Zombie movie is
Yeah.
a
Hmm.
virus movie, and any movie that deals with a virus, something that's contagious, is the
Hmm.
same thing. It's the same
Yeah.
movie. The only thing is with the zombie movies, the virus is mobile and it has a face. You know,
Mm.
That's it. But
Interesting. Okay.
if you put any society of people in a situation where there's a contagion that's killing people in a massive way, and it's very contagious, it's the same situation. People hoarding goods. You got people going out, and I got to find food for my family, and then now you got you're in a standoff with some guy at a grocery store because you got the last bag of food, and he wants it for his family, and you're gonna kill each other for it now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a virus situation. So to me, the zombie thing is cool, but if you really want to get into that mindset, what are you asking of people, and what are people capable of, and all that, then there's more that you can do with the virus and the contagion and that aspect. It doesn't need to be a zombie movie.
No, it doesn't. And we've had that hit close to home, actually, in some small level with the pandemic and with COVID.
Yeah.
You've had people be able to get a little peek into it as far as how society may respond to certain situations and things like that. Just add zombies to the mix and change it out from that to that, and you could probably see where it would go pretty easily nowadays.
Well, that's the point, right? It's symbolic. It's all symbolic of that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with Rick. I mean, at its core, it is a infestation. At its core, it is a contagion. It is a virus, and people need to learn to look outside of the characters that are attached to certain things like this and look at it at its core. And how can you rewrite that? I'll be quite honest with you. What people don't talk about enough, and unfortunately it's just the way Hollywood is built, is that there are good horror movies out there, and there are good zombie movies out there, but they are on the indie circuit. They are on the short film circuit. I was very blessed to see a lot of good horror movies come through our festival that I worked with that were really well, that should have went on to be feature films in theaters for people to see, that were refreshing. So I know that there's still some glimmer of hope for us to have those types of well thought out, cerebral, and interesting films that build on zombie horror or supernatural horror or even gore to some degree. And it depends on what you're into. It's out there, it exists, but we're seeing a filter of that with Hollywood, and streaming's getting a little more into their toes into the water a little bit. Netflix taking a little more chance here and there. They've had some breakout opportunities with certain things, and Hulu and Amazon, things like that. So it's there, but it's just how much is static, how much is just the fuzz and the static that we're seeing, the white noise. And we're getting drowned out to where we believe one thing versus what may really actually be there. And so I think there's still a lining of hope that there is something interesting out there. We're just seeing a whole lot of the bad.
Well, are you saying, sorry, Rick, but are you saying that you got to see some original content that was being created from these new filmmakers? Because Rick brought up the whole video game, right? Side of things, and usually the video games bring something new and original and fresh to
I mean, look at Last of Us, perfect example. That's a zombie game. You can
that they're making into a movie now because the game was so good.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it differently because it's not zombies, like it's not actual zombies. It's a virus. It's an infestation that happens. So it's still a zombie type feel movie, and it's a great game. It's a really good game, and so. Again, I would say if we were not getting at least one or two good zombie type hits, both in the video game realm and the film realm, then I would say, we're pretty done. We are close, but it's just about taking chances. And with the indie filmmakers and the short filmmakers and the student filmmakers, they have no bindings that Hollywood has. They can say, screw it, we're just going to go forward and give it a shot. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. It's about the passion of it. You know what I mean? It might not look good. Trust me, I saw some of them that were not good looking, but the core story was defined well. And the characters were interesting, and that they might not have had the budget to get the best actors. They might not have had the budget to get the best filming equipment. They might not have had the great sets. But you can look through all that. If you really want to look through all that, you can see a good little spark of awesomeness sitting there, just waiting to be developed. So, that's something to think about too. So not all hope is lost on things to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ability to tell a good story, and and even with the movies that you saw that had a glimmer of hope, you know, if I had my own production company and I had the money to give to people, I would sell those people. I'd be like, has a really awesome idea. Don't make it about a zombie. Find something else.
Try something different.
Is what I would do personally.
Yeah.
You know, and my thing is, I think a movie similar to The Last of Us, I think it's more scary if you take the zombie aspect out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's more of a viral contagion, something that you don't know who's got it and who doesn't. You know, and you're living in a world where this is a live or death situation. It's not like you get it and some people live and some people die. No, if you get it, you're dead. You know what I'm saying? In a manner of time. So you maybe got a couple days or something. So you could be walking around 2-3 days with it and not know it and die. So you can catch it from anybody. So imagine what that does psychologically when now you can't just easily define the bad guy by the person who's walking with him.
Yeah.
You know, the bad guy looks just like the person standing next to you. The bad guy could be your best friend.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, I think that's more psychological. But the other thing I was going to bring up that Graven kind of brought up as far as the very smart, you know, and intellectual stuff that he found doing the festival is the problem that I still think we've kind of touched on in other podcasts is it remains to be seen that the majority, or not, I wouldn't say the majority, it remains to be seen that a good portion of people nowadays, whether it be the millennials or you know, or whoever, care to see anything intellectual. So it remains to be seen that they want anything intellectual. You know what I'm saying? So if it requires them to think too much, it remains to be seen if that's something that they care to see. You know what I'm saying? So nowadays it's almost like the dumber the movie, the less I have to think, the more popcorn, the better. You know what I'm saying? Right. And there was a time when we were growing up that popcorn movies usually remained in the summertime. You know what I'm saying? Like you had that window where you just had your grouping of good popcorn movies. But then the rest of the year you had fucking Goodfellas and
Oscar
fucking
season
Godfathers
was in the
fall.
And you know, Oscar season is usually in the fall. Yeah.
Now it seems like the popcorn thing is spreading across all seasons. They don't want to be thoughtful movies anymore. You know what I'm saying? We still have this nonsensical idea that movies don't bring any politics or any real life thoughts into their movies. Like we still have these people. There's a whole group of people on the internet that still think that movies that have woke symbolism in them, you know, is a new thing, and movies should go back to when it was just being entertaining. Like movies never had any political or social, you know what I'm saying?
They always have.
It's always been that way. So there's a huge group of people that on the internet that really are fighting to say that this is no, it's not been this way. This is new. This has happened with the feminist movement, the Me Too movement, and now woke news, the Black Lives Matter, and everything's woke now and stuff. And this is a new thing. So I mean,
the latest incident was the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh gosh, yeah, the comments on that.
That was the latest incident with that. They also claimed that with the new Picard series.
Yeah,
right.
Ridiculous. The comments.
You can go on and on.
It's unbelievable.
Well, it's all in how you wrap it. If it takes a very strategic amount of people, writers, screenplay writers, directors, to actually make a movie that can wrap that type of satire and political viewpoint in a movie without you knowing. It depends on how deep you want people to see it, or how open you want to peel it back. Like you said, it's been there the whole time. You know, you can have a good movie that would never once trigger any political viewpoint from you. You might not even know it's there, but I bet you it's there. If you really want to dig deep in it, I bet you it's there. You can go back to any of our old films and movies and see a political stance somewhere. And when I say political, I don't mean just a traditional political of Republican, Democratic,
social commentary
of politics. You know what I mean? Right. So because I have to say that because sometimes people don't understand. They think it's looped into the same thing. It's completely different. You know, it's just a polarizing view and what you're trying to review and show and what type of journey you're trying to take with your audience. So that's the key thing there to understand. It's just now it's very much in the open and people have that raw nerve exposed. And so now it's just being festered constantly that they don't know. They just believe. It's a memory issue too. It's a memory issue. We have a hard time holding on to our memories as people. We remember something and we attach a nostalgic idea to it and we want to go back there. But our
Absolutely.
memories might not be accurate. We
Right.
might want it to be accurate, but it might not be. So people are
Especially
just
when we were younger.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Subtlety matters, right? Subtlety
Yeah.
matters, and the way that they've been going at things lately, and we talked about this in an earlier podcast, that
Yeah.
they're doing it in a way that is traumatizing the viewing audience. So, for instance, I'll give one quick example: Batwoman, that series.
Mhm.
That series had potential. It could have been very good, but the way they went about disrespecting original canon, disrespecting Batman, disrespecting just the whole, the breadth of his work in Gotham City, and saying, here now, this is the real savior now. This suit is going to be perfect when a woman puts it on. Like, they didn't need to be so blunt about certain things that you're sort of disrespecting the viewership, right? So subtlety does matter. I think that a valid criticism is that certain things have been done too bluntly.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that point of view. Getting back to what the core of what Rick was saying as far as making intelligent films versus non-intelligent films, I absolutely agree with him. At the same time, though, based on a lot of what you've said, Graven, and based on Rick's points as well, I don't think the genre is finished. I think the genre is suffering because it's getting filtered too much of the lazy formulaic stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen some really fascinating stuff. Hopefully some of that could leak out. But unfortunately, again, the viewership has been traumatized by simplistic, just regular, normal remedy stuff. And just for the sake of gore, just for the sake of simplicity, and I just want to turn my brain off. But you can have both, okay? I saw a series on Netflix called Black Summer. It was an amazing zombie series, right? They showed you different perspectives. So somebody would wake up in their house, right? And they would run outside and, zombies are eating everybody. So they would like hop in a car and drive somewhere. And they would show you that person's story for that episode. Then the next episode, somebody else would be running by that same car. So they'll show you that person's perspective. And eventually they all sort of met up. To me, that's fresh, that's original, that's different, right? So part of the way we can do this better is when not only do you have good characters, you have good stories, but it's also in a cinematography. It's the way these stories are put together and layered. It's the viewpoint. There was one this iconic shot when I was watching Dawn of the Dead, where she hopped in her car after she made it out the house when her husband was trying to get her, right? She hopped in a car and she was driving, and Zack Snyder positioned the camera behind the car. So you saw the car going while she was trying to maneuver her way, through that neighborhood. Like, that matters. That type of subtlety, that type of artfulness matters. And there's nothing intellectual about it. It's just done in a way that's giving you a different perspective of this thing.
Yeah.
So I will disagree with both of you in a sense, because I realize you're both exhausted with this, especially Rick, right?
No, see, that's not it. That's not it at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm getting the sense that there's sort of fatigue with this stuff, right? But I don't think that the best stories have been told yet. Like, I think there's more to this, but I agree with you guys that what we've been seeing is just the same old, carbon copy of a carbon copy.
I mean, to say that I mean, hey, listen. I mean, if you really think the best stories have not been told yet, that's fine. I honestly think
that's why we're reviewing the Zack Snyder trailer. I think this is going to be one of those stories.
Well, I mean, we already talked about whether it's the story that's going to make it amazing, or if it's the production as a whole that's going to make it amazing. The story in itself has been done, just like what you just talked about the last summer, the Black Summer thing. That whole story, that whole story arc that you said has been done before, many a times, with the whole perspective from different people. You know what I'm saying? So it may not have been done in a zombie movie before, but it was done in many other types of movies before. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's not so much the story. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and I agree with you. Perspective is a thing. Perspective and the way you tell the story is where, and that's one of the things I think about Snyder that's going to be way different. It's the way he tells his story. It's not
the
going
way
to be.
he tells it, right?
It's not so much the story in itself, because when you break the story down, been done before. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be how he tells the story, and I think it's going to make this movie dope. But for me, it's not so much about fatigue. It's about lack of creativity. You know what I'm saying? No one's saying that we don't ever have to have another zombie movie. But why do we only have zombie movies? Why, when we came from an era we had multiple types of bad guys, and now it just seems like everybody's doing zombie movies. We don't have Freddy Kruegers. Yeah. We don't have aliens. We don't have, you know what I'm saying? We came from a place where we had a melting pot of different types of things, and we don't have that kind of creativity anymore. My frustration comes from the fact that Hollywood just wants to put out what they think is going to sell. It's not about cultivating creativity anymore. That's where my problem is.
No, I agree with you on that.
That's all it is. They'll sell zombie movies until the fucking end of the world if they knew they could just get money off it and never have to lose $1 anymore. And we'll never get any cool new any cool new horror characters or people. It's all about the zombie movies, because it happens every year. And I know Gravy can tell you the same thing. What is it? The zombie movies, the possession movies, and the hauntings. That's it.
All the time.
That's all we have.
All the time.
Every year.
All the
That's
time.
it.
The Trinity.
Yeah. That's all it is now.
Yeah, and I also must say it's not just about what the genre of, but it's also the filming style that we're getting tired of, that I couldn't tell you how much I saw. And that is, listen, there are groundbreaking films. There are things that have to take a risk. There are some of those that were fortunate enough to slip through, right? And show us all what could be done and what can be done after, right? And when I say about not just genre, but how it's all presented, I'm saying when Blair Witch came out, Blair Witch introduced a whole public, popularly, with popularity, that the shaky cam was what we needed, right? And every horror film after that, not every, I'm exaggerating, but the majority of it. I can't tell you how many shaky cam horror films.
Yeah, they tried to copy those.
That just continues to regurgitate the found footage documented type area, right? And try to make you believe it's real, right? And that's because of, thankfully, Blair Witch. I'm glad we got some good ones from it too. I'm not going to say we didn't. But then on top of that, the hardcore hairy first person type action feel with horror movies too. We got a lot of that. A lot of the whole, we love the 80s, so every horror movie has to be the 80s horror movie because we come from the 80s. And that's good, too, to some degree. But you'll see not just with the genre of, like, zombie, it's also filming aesthetic that's being copied as well with no creativity. People hang on stuff. It's all about fad creationism. I love this. It's near and dear to my heart. So I want to create something, and we're all guilty of that as creators. We all find something we love, and we want to put our little stamp on it too because we love it. There's nothing wrong with that. But we also need to be cognitive of that as a creator so that you can try to step outside your comfort zone and give somebody something new. I can't tell you that how many films and scripts have been optioned and have been shelved in Hollywood to keep the fresh stuff off the screens. There's warehouses of option stories. That is exactly what Rick's talking about, exactly what Sean you're talking about, that people will watch and will love, and it's completely groundbreaking. But because it poses a threat to financial success, because they're taking a chance, they're going to lose the bottom line giving it a shot. They're going to go over here with what they know, what's going to make the money.
They'll keep it on the shelf. They'll keep it on the shelf, and then maybe when the bottom finally falls out of the zombie genre, in another 10 years or 15 years, then you'll see this new movie come out. And what you don't know is that the movie was optioned 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
10 years ago.
And it's been sitting on the shelf for 15 years.
Right.
Because nobody wanted to take a chance on it because they just want to make money. They don't care about being creative anymore.
Yeah, right.
That's the only problem I have with it. I don't care about the genre because I don't really watch it. My thing is, I feel like we've had this conversation about other things, Sean, and I think Graven was in on it at one point. We talked about those things that hold us back from being greater than we are. You know,
Right.
we talked about religion and blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this is one of those things when it comes to the film aspect. One of the things that is holding us back, you have somebody sitting, you know, or a group of people, you know what I'm saying, in production companies worldwide that have the money. These are the fucking gatekeepers.
Yeah.
They get to decide what groundbreaking movies get seen by people. You know what I'm saying? And the ones that they don't feel like is worth taking a chance on gets put on the shelf. So how many groundbreaking movies that we've never seen before that are sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting dust because somebody doesn't want to rock the boat with the zombie genre?
Right. Yeah. No, I got
Creativity
you.
is meant to expand the consciousness of our lives. That's what creativity is supposed to do. And that's why we're here, I feel. We need to be able to expand upon things, even the crazy, even the unsettling, even the unintelligible to some degree, even the outlandish. We need that because the only way we can have a proper barometer of how we grow is being able to have all that stuff so that we can filter out the possibility. And we don't get that. And therefore we become stagnant. And that's what's happening right now. We as a society that's a whole other conversation. We can get into it, you know, based on what Rick Shirt says, of course. But you know, the thing of it is that in the creative realm, we're still regurgitating stuff from the 80s and the 90s. We've hit a wall.
Yeah.
We've hit a
Absolutely.
wall creatively that nobody seems to know how to break. And if they do know, they're being shelved somewhere where we can't see it. And so now you're getting funneled, you're bottlenecking to where the viewer starts creating a type of consciousness that we have right now, where we're thinking, this is it. There's nothing else. We can't do anything more. That's wrong. You can't tell me with the amount of people on this planet that there's something new that we can be discovered in ourselves, but we don't have the voice or the ability to do it. So I mean, I think there's tons more out there that we can be doing, smart, intellectually, and fun. You know, it can be fun.
And
It doesn't have to be cerebral.
you also have that frame of mind where you just said where it creates a frame of mind where we think there's nothing else. You also create the other frame of mind where people think this is all new.
Right.
You know, you got a group of people that think this is all new. We just created this. No, you know, this is all being regurgitated, and it wasn't even that long ago that it's being regurgitated. People really think a lot of this shit is new, and it's original. It's not original. You know.
I would forget to posit this too, to just say, to kind of help some of our listeners kind of think about it in a little different way. Let's put on to what it is currently happening is the superhero renaissance, the comic book renaissance. I think we're at a little more of a down slope now than what we were to begin with. But I tell this to people who are creating comics all the time because that's my wheelhouse and that's what I love. You know, how do you show their superpower? Yeah. How are you as an artist going to put that superpower on the page? How are you going to show that superpower in a film? How are you going to do it? Well, I don't know. I mean, they got fire powers. They can do fire. They can shoot fire. How are you going to show it to me? How are you going to do it? How are you going to make it different? That's the cracking of the code. If you can make that look different, then you've got yourself a winner. If you can show it different than how many times Johnny Storm has flamed on and done all his flying around, then you entice the viewer. You entice the reader because you know what? I've seen this before, but not like that. Not like that.
Right.
So its perception is key. And that's what these filmmakers and writers and directors and studios need to understand. Show us a different perception. It's the same thing's been done. Just show us a different look at it and put it on paper and make it exciting.
I mean, and that even goes like to what Sean was saying about like when he brought up I Am Legend. They tried to do that with I Am Legend, where the zombies weren't really zombies. And if you talk to like a zombie purist, they hate I Am Legend.
They're infected.
If you talk to a zombie purist, they don't like I Am Legend because
that's a vampiric type feeling.
Yeah, they weren't really zombies. You know what I'm saying? But they were trying to do something different. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing. I'm like, all right, you know, if the zombie genre keeps going, that's fine. But if you find people that, well, Graven said, show us another perspective, give us a different way to see it. Like, but I don't know if it's able to be done. But if it is, cool. Like, let's do that. Let's figure that out. You know, but no one's trying to do that. You don't have people in Hollywood going, how do we figure this out? How do we crack this nut, Bob?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're going, fuck that shit. We want more of what these people just keep regurgitating. Just make more money until this shit
Yeah.
just doesn't make no money. That's all they
They
care
keep
about.
getting met with a wall. They keep getting met with a wall. That's exactly what happens. There are creatives out there that do exactly what Rick's talking about, but they keep getting hit a wall. They don't have the ability to attain that option to show people their vision. So as long as that keeps happening, we're going to keep dealing with this, I feel. I could be
So
wrong.
so so that based on everything you guys just finished saying,
Yeah.
that brings us back to the trailer and Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Do you feel like he has enough creative, free will to give us something fun and not really too disappointing or whatever? Or do you think that there's an opportunity here to be sorely disappointed in what he produces with this, based on the trailer? Right? It could go either way.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm willing to roll the dice from what I've seen and just from what my gut is telling me, that it's going to be a fun movie. It's not, again, it's not recreating the wheel. It's not trying to do something 100% original. Like, I don't even think he set out to do that. You know, I think he's just finding a way to put his little pizzazz on the genre. And I do agree with what Graven said earlier, and that honestly makes me believe that I don't necessarily think this was a movie that he I could be wrong, but I would almost venture to say that this wasn't the movie that he set out to do. This was a movie that was probably brought to him, and he decided, "Fuck it, yeah, this should be fun." It might even be the horror genre might be something that he really loves to do deep down, and that's why he said, "Yeah, I'll do this. I'm going back to my roots." You know what I'm saying? But I do think that what Graven said is probably the fucking the nut that's been cracked here is that this movie. The reason why this movie is being made is because it satisfies that Call of Duty, that video game thing. I guarantee freaking you that that's what's going on here. And once you said that, it was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly that's exactly what's happening here. You know what I'm saying? This is who they're feeding. They're feeding that audience with this movie. You know what I'm saying? And Zack Snyder is just going to bring that style to it. That's going to help frame it in a new light, like
visual love letter.
Yeah, to some of these younger millennials and video gamers, this is gonna fit for them visually because of the type of video games they're playing. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a good marriage of the two. I think it's a perfect marriage of the two. And I think in that way, it's gonna. I mean, shit. If we were in a regular box office situation and the pandemic wasn't going on, I think this would be a huge box office sensation. I think once people, you're gonna have your Snyder haters. They're gonna hate. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to hate. I think it's ridiculous at this point. But I think once those people that catch on to this, the ones that this movie is made for, like Graven was saying, the gamers and all that stuff, that's who it's truly made for. Once they catch on to this shit, forget about it. This is gonna go off like a lightning bolt.
Yeah, it's got just enough Michael Bay, but just enough Zack Snyder feel. You know what I mean? I think it feels, and I'm not saying that to be goofy or what have you, but if you think about it, this movie has the potential to go both ways in that type of feel. It can go all out, balls out, explosive warfare. You know what I mean? That just happens to have zombies as the backdrop. You know what I mean? Black Hawk Down meets zombies type thing. It could be something like that, or it could be just a popcorn film that just pays homage to the love of gamers out there and the love of zombies and this almost feels like it's a step up from the Resident Evil first film, not the second, not all the rest of the crap that's out there. Sorry guys, it's crap. That first film where we were getting some of it, and even then it deviated from the story a lot of what the game was, the beauty of the game. But I feel like this is kind of, they're trying to grab those people there, like, come on in, we're going to give it another shot. Trust me a little bit here. We're going to give it another shot. Let's give it another go around. I think the visualization, the framing, the neon color palette, how they're advertising it, how they're marketing it, how it happened, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That we're putting it down into a center area where you don't have to worry about what's happening in the world.
It's like putting it on a board in a video game. It's so video game ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
Yeah,
so
the
ridiculous.
setup.
Yeah, it's so video game, man. That's so crazy to
Yep.
think about. That's exactly what this
Yep.
is. That's dope. I mean, I think they're gonna make a lot of money off this. I think they're gonna make a lot of money. Like Graven, we talk all the time with Fortnite. You know what I'm saying? He plays Fortnite with the kids
Yeah, I
and
play
stuff.
Fortnite.
You know, yeah, and I guarantee you'll see Batista's character or one of these characters in Fortnite. Like these characters
Right.
will, however they're gonna do it. You know, I don't know if they'll create a whole video game just for this movie. I don't think so. But somehow,
Yeah.
some way, you'll see these characters or something about this movie in a video game, or Fortnite will do a board that'll be a Vegas board or something. Something about this is going to end up in a video game situation because it plays so well, and I guarantee you this is exactly what this was from the beginning. They probably completely marketed this whole thing, and they probably already
Yeah.
have it planned out, and how they're going to continue it into a video game format. It's brilliant.
Right.
It's brilliant. Now that I think about it, it's brilliant. You know.
It's good timing too. I mean, with the exception of the pandemic, but we'll
Yeah.
find out the numbers. You know, Netflix. I think it's May 21st. Is dropping. So
Oh, is it coming? It's coming out on Netflix.
Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Netflix film.
So it's not gonna do. It's not gonna do a movie theater and a
Theater
Netflix
release?
thing. No.
No, I don't think so. I think it's straight to Netflix.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. Netflix doesn't. Do they release numbers? Like, do they have a numbers release situation? Do we see their numbers? I don't know.
I believe so. I'm not
I think
sure.
so. I don't know the exact.
I
like,
believe they do, but
but I think so.
something to look into.
I wonder if how we can see that. You know, I'd love to know how
Mhm.
that works. You know, that's the unfortunate thing about the streaming situation nowadays. We can't see the
Yeah.
numbers. We don't know what's going on. But
Well, it's that same. It's like that same issue from before. Like, if you watch it for 5 minutes, they count that as a view, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, we discussed that in a previous podcast with Justice League. So
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
yeah, which is that's a whole other
Yeah.
thing of nonsense. But yeah, but either way, you know, I mean, I listen. One of the things, if everyone that's watching now, if you haven't realized, one of the reasons why we sought to do this podcast, not only because we wanted to talk about it anyway, but it was an interesting perspective from someone like Graven, who's been into the horror genre most of his whole life, and he's someone who likes mostly, you know, watching horror genre movies, versus someone like Sean who just got in, you know what I'm saying, in 2016, and he appreciates the movies that he sees for the most part, and then someone like myself who's not really into the horror genre movie. So between the three of us, you bring a pretty interesting perspective, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, we decided, you know what, this could be an interesting conversation, and also hopefully help start more interesting conversations, you know, from anybody
sure.
watching the comment section, because that's really what this is about, is continuing the conversation as much as possible. But yeah, for me, from somebody that doesn't really care for horror movies or the zombie thing, I'm really. It's kind of a bittersweet thing. I told Sean and Graven this. It's very bittersweet because there's a part of me that wants to watch the movie, and then there's a part of me obviously that doesn't want to watch the movie. You know what I'm saying? But you know, there's really a part of me that's like, oh, this is gonna be fucking awesome. But then there's that other part of me that's like, nah, I ain't interested in watching a fucking zombie movie. You know.
I always rag Rick all the time about it too because it's hilarious to me. Because he's so, and I use this word a lot, but I think it fits him well. He's so cerebral when it comes to things he doesn't want to watch and what he does want to watch and what needs to happen. That there's so many good horror movies that he's missing out on because of his just internal feeling of I don't want none of this.
Yeah.
But there are some good that will trigger what he likes, and he doesn't even realize he would love it and he would eat it up. And so I rag on him. I know maybe I shouldn't, but I think it's hilarious.
You know, I'm too much of a visual person. You know, I'm very as an artist, I'm too visual. You know, and when I watch something, if I watch some certain things get stuck in my head for too long. You know, and certain things, as you could say, I can't give space in my head to certain things for too long a period of time.
Right.
And if there's certain movies that I'll watch, and it's not like I've never watched horror movies, but there's just some movies that I definitely will never watch, certain types of horror movies. But
Of course.
But then there's other ones that it's like, all right, fine, I'll go ahead and watch it. But it's just a thing. Yeah, I can't give
Mm-hmm.
too much space mentally to some of these movies because it kind of takes some. It's just bad for me.
Well,
Mentally.
similarly with the visuals, I'm the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
You know, I cross the line with certain horror movies. I've never been really immersed in a genre like that. I still have not seen the Blair Witch Project.
Hmm.
Just to give you an example, there's so many iconic horror movies that I have not seen. I just saw the original Nightmare on Elm Street maybe 2 months ago, 3 months
Wow.
ago.
Oof,
Okay.
that's a
After all
classic.
this time, I
Wow.
Yeah.
haven't
Okay.
seen Dream Warriors, right?
That's a good conversation. I want to peel that open with you, man, at some point.
Right.
That's good.
So, you know,
Mm.
I've never really been into to the horror genre at all because I'm very visual as well, and a lot of those images stay with me.
Yeah.
The zombie genre, we're essentially talking about a genre within a genre, right?
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
You know, it's its own little niche, and this seems like the low hanging fruit. I could tolerate the zombie genre. It's like you said earlier, Graven. Like zombies are easy, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure early on in maybe the 70s, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, uh, there was more of a creepy sort of, shock element to seeing zombies and everything like that. But you know, again, we've advanced so far
Yeah.
from that. We've been desensitized to a certain amount of, gore and all that stuff just in general as a society,
Yeah.
that even with the improvement of technology, and technology has gotten so good now, where I think Rick told me about a movie that these people went to a certain, village, and there were cannibals there, and it
Oh,
looked so real.
Talking about Green Inferno
Green
or
Inferno.
Green
Cannibal
Inferno,
Holocaust?
Green
right?
Inferno. Green
The
Inferno.
Green Inferno, right? Like they
Yeah.
had to prove that there wasn't actual cannibalism
Yeah, they took
going
him to
on there.
court. Yeah.
There are certain scenes in horror movies that, I mean, it's incredible what they can make look real.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with Rick on that. I don't want to have certain images ingrained in my psyche as well.
Yeah.
So as far as like possession movies or demonic movies,
Nope.
or anything jumping out of somebody's body or crawling into somebody's body, I refuse to see.
I'm good.
Right.
Homie.
That's fair. That's
But at the same time, Graven, you bring up a good point. I stayed away from the genre for so long that I didn't realize that every so often there were some great movies. And I brought this up in a previous podcast that we talked about. The Witch and Hereditary,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think, are fantastic. I brought up I Am Legend. I brought up Black Summer. I'm also interested in seeing Kingdom, which is another series on Netflix, which has to do with like an ancient,
Oh,
I think
the
it's
Japanese movie.
Japanese,
The Japanese
series based upon
Well,
zombies too. So again, I've missed out on certain opportunities to see some good content, but I still have that barrier.
You,
Is what I'm
you
saying.
ease in. You ease in where you can.
Yeah,
The fact that
absolutely.
you're even watching a few speaks volumes. It doesn't mean even if you don't like it, if you're a person out there that just doesn't like it, it's okay. I'm just saying that if it get, I mean, I'm not going to hold anybody to the fire. There's movies I don't care to watch, genres I don't care to watch all the time either.
Right.
So that's across the board. I think, and don't get me wrong, I do love my horror movies, but even me, as I've progressed, watching all these films and seeing all the amazing stuff that's been out there and the bad stuff, I've seen a large amount of bad, and I've seen a hefty amount of good. My taste in horror movies have started to kind of zero down into, my wife messes with me all the time because she loves them so much. She loves horror movies so much that it can be bad and she will eat it up. She does not care. B, D, C, Z, if there was a rating, she'll watch it, and she will watch it forever. Okay? I can't do that. She'll be like, "Dear, you want to watch this?" I'm like, "Nope." Is it, well, you haven't even seen the movie yet. You saw a trailer. I can tell. I've just watched so many films, so many trailers, so many reviews that I just can tell when that film has something rich to it that piques my interest, and then I'll give it a shot. And I've been disappointed too. I haven't been right.
Right.
I'll see it and like, man, I really thought that was going to be good, and I start watching it 30 minutes. I'm like, this is crap. I can't believe I put myself through this. Here we go again. Because just because of the ease of access doesn't mean you need to be making it. You know what I mean? Just because you want to make a film, you have to be real enough with yourself to say, maybe I shouldn't be making it. So I agree with that too, that idea. So don't get me wrong. I feel both of you. I understand exactly what you're talking about because there's some things that I don't want to watch again, and there's certain traumas people go through. Let's be honest. There's certain traumas people go through in real life that changes the way they watch things, and that's not just in the horror genre. That's in action. That's in drama. That's in comedy and romance. It's everywhere. And sometimes you just watch something like I can't do this anymore. Every time I watch these types of film, it makes me feel this way. So no one needs to beat themselves up if they're not really in the horror fan type idea. We love what we love. Take an experience if you want to, as you can, and enjoy what you get a chance from it all. That's all I can say.
It's supposed to be enjoyment. So if
Yes,
you're not
absolutely.
enjoying, if you're not enjoying it, then don't do it.
Shut it off.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what anyone says. If you don't enjoy watching those things, don't watch it. Don't. Who cares what anyone else says? You know.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, like you were talking about with some movies that are garbage. If just because you can make it doesn't mean you should. You know, Graven and I have had this conversation because his son Chase is a budding filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we've had conversations with Chase, and I know Sean will agree. We've had conversations with Chase because he loves horror movies, and that's what he loves to do and wants to do, which is fine. But you know, one of the things that we had talked to him about is it's not a bad idea to look at other types of movies. Like, it's one thing to all you've ever watched or all you get into is horror movies, and then now all you want to produce is horror movies. But if you want to be a well-rounded producer, you know what I'm saying, you should be a cinephile, period. You know what I'm saying? You should be a lover of movies, not just horror. Because there's certain horror movies that you can look at and go, man, this has such a... You could tell this guy watched... what's his name? Freaking Godfather, the director.
Oh,
Scorsese. You could tell this guy watched a Scorsese movie. You know what I'm saying? Or you could tell this guy watched a Francis Ford Coppola movie. Or you could tell this guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, you know, and we've had this conversation with you, if you want to be a well-rounded filmmaker, you know what I'm saying, you need to learn how to watch film in its entirety and appreciate film in its entirety. Not just stick to horror movies and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because then your ability to make movies is going to be stunted.
Yeah.
If that's all you watch is horror movies, then you're not going to be the best that you can be. You got to be able to learn what everybody's doing. Get an idea what all the people are doing. Enrich yourself. Yeah. So, which I don't think a lot of people do, but you know.
Yeah. It goes back to the same argument, is that we all need to travel. If you stay in the same hometown your whole life, that's all you're going to know. So you can love it and as much as you want and be able to repeat it as much as you want. But if you don't get out there and see what's out there, you're never going to enrich yourself enough to make a proper view. And I think that's with anything we do in life. So some are not fortunate enough to do that, and that's okay. We live in this amazing world of the internet where some of it's true, most of it's not true, you know, but we have that resource. We come from a time when we didn't have that resource. We grew into that resource, having that resource. So there's really no excuse. I think anybody, even if you can't get out of your hometown, there's ways to connect and grow your knowledge base. So do that. Be hungry, and then create something great from it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to do this real quick because I know, Sean, what's the next... I know we talked earlier. You said you got to watch 28 Days Later.
Yes, I got to watch 28 Days Later. And I'm going to finish...
Yeah, what's the next ones?
I'm going to finish Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely have to prepare myself to watch 28 Days Later because that one looks pretty serious.
Man!
Yeah. And I think I'm going to check out Kingdom.
Okay. Yeah, that's a series, right? Is it just one?
It's a series.
I think it's only one season right now, or is it 2 seasons? I think it's 1 season.
I believe it's 1 season so far.
Yeah. Ooh, boy, that's.
I could go down a list with some films for you to watch.
That was my next question. I was going to say if Graven wanted to give you, just give him a couple recommendations.
Give me 3.
I mean, it's hard because there's so many of them. So apologize to the horror files out there that, you know, like, why didn't you tell them this one, Graven?
Well, no apologize. And whoever's watching, if you want to leave some comments below, comment below.
Yeah, let us know. You know, but there's a lot to pull back. Of course, to be honest with you. But one that sticks with me all the time, and again, it's not. I don't think it's over the top amazing. I just think I really enjoyed the way it was, to some degree, the way it was translated was a movie called Quarantine. Quarantine. It was originally a Spanish Mexican film called Record. All right, REC, and then they translated it into American filming to make their own version of it. It's called Quarantine. I still like that one. That one still sits with me good. Every time I watch it, like Monica will watch it all the time. I'll watch it. Sometimes I don't want to sit down and watch. It's not because it's gory. It's just the way the feel is, the way it's shot, the way it looks. It's basically the idea is that it's unsettling. There's basically what happens when a New York complex. It's been a while since I've watched it, so it's kind of like that New York, New Jersey, upstate. Um, Brown House, type area where it's the whole complex, the brownstones. Yeah, you got the huge thing where there's one way in and everyone lives in it, and you've got there's apartments and what have you.
You're probably talking about a project building.
Project building, yeah. Sorry, I apologize for my information there, but it's something like that. I don't want to give it all away, but basically, what happens when a zombie outbreak infection happens within that period, and there's no way out, and the government knows about it mysteriously, but a series of events with a firefighting crew come in, a few police officers come in to a call of something happening in one of the apartments, and you start in this journey with a reporter that's actually there to report on the firefighters, and you're following her with the firefighters going to a call to a issue happening within this project type apartment complex. The building. And they get inside the building and they start realizing, and all hell starts falling apart and going loose. And before you know it, just crazy. Conveniently, the government shows up, military shows up outside and starts bolting them all into this building out of nowhere from this. And then you start.
That sounds like a great premise, man.
Yeah.
I know we're coming up on time. Give me two more real quick.
Two more. Give me 1 second. Let me pull some stuff up from memory here. Let me pull some stuff up real quick. Give me a second.
I mean, you talk about having perspective. That's even an interesting perspective from my point of view, just because, I obviously I didn't spend my whole adult life in New York, but I grew up in those types of projects when I was younger. So that's interesting to think of that happening when I was a kid and. When I lived at Farragut Heights, we were like on the 19th floor. So can you imagine a zombie outbreak happening
in the building?
And I'm 19 floors up from the ground, and I got to get to the ground, and I got to go through all that shit.
Well, when he was describing it, I thought of the movie Attack the Block.
I was going to bring it up. That
was in a British project.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Attack the Block.
Yeah, that was in a British project.
Great.
It wasn't really zombies, but it was like. Alien monster.
It was an alien monster, but see, that's what I'm talking about. You could have easily rewrote that movie for a zombie movie, but you could also easily have rewrote that movie and made the character what they made it. That's what I'm saying. It's the story can be written, and you can say, okay, take the zombie aspect out and find something different,
something more clever.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Sure. And that's what Attack the Block was. That I'm so glad you saw that movie too, because I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There's so many, man. I'm trying to look at which ones there are here that I think you should give it a shot.
Hey, man, just pick two that you think are good. Put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
Chances are I haven't seen them.
You've seen Train to Busan, right? Yes. You saw that one. Yeah. That one was really good.
And you didn't like the sequel.
There's actually a sequel to. I didn't get to see the sequel yet.
Peninsula is the sequel.
Oh, I thought you saw the sequel and you didn't like it.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't get to see it yet.
Let's see here. This is a good one. It was actually one that filmed at one of our film festival. Hostel is a really good horror film. Hostile.
Is it a zombie?
I actually remember seeing the poster for it.
That is not your traditional zombie film, but it is a zombie film. I would say it's more of a zombie love drama film, and it's going to sound weird me saying that, but there's an interesting twist to that film. I like that one.
And the
last one. Let's see here. Have some fun with it. Let's go Overlord. Overlord from J.J. Abrams that was on Netflix. It's a Nazi zombie movie.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's actually on my list.
Yeah. That's give it a shot. List. I mean, it's not upper echelon great, you know what I mean? but it's just that's a fun little interesting movie to see. It's got its
Gotcha.
issues, but I think you can
In
enjoy
a different
it.
time period too, I think.
Yeah.
Graven,
You
what
know,
was that? I can't remember if I feel like I had to have been watching this with you guys. What was that
okay.
movie? What was that zombie movie? It was a zombie movie. Oh wait, was it that one with the kids?
Oh, I was going to tell him about that one. Was it about? It's about Boy
The
Scouts.
boy, that shit is awesome.
It's great. That's
The
a
Boy
great one. You'll
Scouts
love that
Guide,
one.
Boy Scouts Guide to
Guide
Zombie
to the Zombie
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Yes.
Okay.
That shit
Yes.
was fun. It was a fun
Yes.
movie, man.
That one's fun.
It's
Okay.
not. It's not a normal
It
zombie
doesn't
movie.
take itself serious.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Imagine
meant,
like the Goonies meets a
yes,
zombie outbreak.
imagine Goonies
type
meets
thing.
zombie outbreak.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right.
That shit was. That
So
shit
I
was.
got
It
I got
was fun to
4 on my
watch.
list. I gotta check out. All
Yeah,
right.
I should have wrote some
Done.
stuff down to begin with in the beginning of the
That's all right.
episode.
Nah,
but
it's
I
fine.
think those are some fun to start with. There's
All right,
more.
I got it.
There's tons of more, but obviously, like I said, anybody watching, people watching, leave comments of your favorite zombie movie and what you like about it. You know what I'm saying? And how do you feel about the zombie genre as a whole? Do you feel like it's coming to an end? Do you feel like it's lost its appeal already? Do you feel like the Army of the Dead could breathe new life into the zombie genre? Just leave your thoughts in the comment section. Join the conversation. And you guys got any last things you want to say about the Army of the Dead?
No, I
I'm
think
hopeful.
it's interesting. I'm hopeful
I'm
too.
hopeful. Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be groundbreaking. Sorry, I don't think so. I don't think it's meant to be thought provoking in that way. But I could be wrong, and I want to be wrong. If it is, then great. I think it's just going to be a fun shoot 'em up game with some interesting twist. And let's just be honest about how simple it is. If it's a really good heist film, the job is done. Because let's talk about how we enjoy good heist films.
That's true. We didn't talk about the heist part of the whole situation. How much that has to live up to the heist aspect of it.
Sure.
So that's a good thing too. So awesome. All right. Well, cool. I think we've done our due diligence on this one. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me again. And everybody who's watching, thanks for coming in and tuning in and joining us once more. Please tune in again and again and again, because we will be coming back with you guys about some more stuff. Obviously, we love conversating with you guys about things. So come back and check us out soon. And that's about it. Here from the Bloody Nerd, we're going to say peace to you all. Thanks for tuning in, guys.